What's up guys, Jeff here from Grit City Fitness and Performance, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of identifying your barriers or roadblocks. Now the reason this topic has come up is because, as you might notice, my shirt is a little gray. And the reason it's gray is because I just did half an hour of cardio. Now cardio has been one of my large roadblocks for a long period of time. Because cardio has been a roadblock, I've had to specifically work out a way to implement it into my day without me feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or just like it's a big problem. To do so, I had to realize that one, I had a barrier, and that barrier was something that was stopping me from being able to perform it. So I had to identify the barrier or barriers so that way I could get rid of them or know how to go around them. And once I did that, now it's becoming a little bit easier to implement the actions that I need to take. So this isn't just about cardio. This is about implementing ways to get rid of or go around barriers in your life, whether that's a goal, whether that's an action you need to take, whether it's an action you don't want to be taking anymore, or whether it's just figuring out what's stopping you from actually getting to that last little bit of result. So first we must know what a barrier is. Okay, so we already understand what the gist of a barrier is. You can go over it, through it, or around it. So it depends on what kind of barrier you have. Oftentimes barriers are things like time, skill, resource. These are typically the most common barriers that we tend to really go back to. Now you might be saying, Jeff, none of my barriers are this because I have barriers that are, financial, or I have barriers that are family or whatever. Well, the truth is money is resources and your family is, again, resources. So you lack something inside of a resource. So this is going to be used as more of a general term, okay? So what are the barriers that are holding you back? What barrier is stopping you from doing better with your nutrition? Or what barrier is stopping you from being more consistent with your workout? Or what barrier is stopping you from being able to save more money so you have more in your savings account? So we first identify that. We'll say one of our goals is that we want to do 30 minutes of cardio 4 times a week. Now, one of my barriers in this case was that I felt I did not personally have enough time. By the time I finished working out, I felt like I wanted to go do something. So what did I do? Well, I knew that I had to chisel out 30 minutes. So one, I need 30 minutes. If I have 30 minutes, how can I implement 30 minutes into my day? I know that I have 24 hours in a day, and I know that I have the same 168 hours a week that everybody else has. Sorry, I need an hour and 20 or 120 minutes total across the whole week. Well, how can I build out 4 days of 30-minute sets? Well, I have to look at my day as a whole. What is getting in the way? Or why do I feel like I have this stress? Well, in this case, some ways of overcoming this barrier is wake up early, bring extra clothes, do after coaching, or before, lit up. So initially when I came into this problem, the problem was I didn't have enough time to do my cardio. Well, then after evaluating and looking at the barrier, which was the amount of time I needed to perform and what I needed to do, I realized that a couple of my problems are time, resources, or skill, right? So now we look at it and realize I have to do 30 minutes of cardio 4 days a week, which is 30 minutes or 120 total minutes over the course of the week. How can I get 30 more minutes in my day? Well, I could wake up earlier. I could wake up half an hour earlier. I could wake up 10 minutes earlier, right? Because what I did realize in my case was, as I trained, I had a good 15 minutes after my workout or before that I felt comfortable. But after that, I felt like I was rushed, wasn't able to fully commit to the time. What could I do to get rid of that barrier? I could wake up 15 minutes early, 20 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier. How much is it really? Let's be honest. 30 minutes earlier in the morning is going to be much more beneficial than the half an hour of extra nighttime that you did decide to stay up, because the extra nighttime is not going to be any good for you, because let's think about what happens at nighttime. You tend to go more onto the drinking side. You tend to go more on the eating treat side. You tend to go over on the overindulge side, which doesn't happen in the morning. So switching half an hour at night to half an hour in the morning is actually more beneficial, especially for people like myself. Another thing that I felt was holding me back from being able to do it is I couldn't do it before or after coaching because I felt like I was sweaty or nasty. So that was a barrier. Now, how can I get over that barrier? Well, I can bring extra clothes to the gym. I can bring an extra t-shirt with me so then I can do it before or after and not have to worry about looking disgusting while I deal with clients. Another option I could do is do some before or do it after I coach, right? So again, I had the barrier of me having clothes problems, so that meant I couldn't do it before or after, or I felt like I was going to be gross. So now I can do it after or before with a change of clothes. And then another option I found is that I could split it up. So instead of doing 30 full minutes in one set, I could do 10 minutes before I work out as a warm-up, letting my pre-workout sit in, and I could finish up with another 20 minutes post-workout where I'm warmed up and I can really utilize that last 15-20 minutes where I felt good about that time. Now all of a sudden I'm multitasking, getting it done, and I've gotten rid of the barrier. So let's look at another possible barrier. Another barrier that I oftentimes come across, and we'll just say eating properly. Now, with nutrition, you may be saying, well, my barrier is that I have kids and I have to stock my health. Okay, so the problem with your nutrition is that you're unable to stay consistent or be deliberate or diligent about staying on track about the foods that you consume, meaning you're putting the wrong things in your mouth because they're available. So one of the barriers in this case is access. Another barrier is tracking. Another barrier might be focus. Another barrier might be friends, family. Okay, so these are a couple different barriers that you might be facing. Barrier one might be access, meaning you have too much access to it, or you don't don't have access enough, right? So too much access might be that, yes, you do have a family and you have an other, and because of that, you have an overabundance of food that you don't want to be eating on your health diet. Another situation is that you don't have the foods that you need to have prepared or ready for you at your house. So that would be a barrier. I don't have access to the good things, so that naturally means that I have to go out and get bad things, right? Another thing is you may not be tracking. So if you're not tracking, stay on point with your nutrition and eating properly. So the simple act doing something that will get you away track. Maybe it's a physical log, maybe it's MyFitnessPal, maybe it's a different app that you feel more comfortable. Another one is keeping the focus, right? So in a lot of people's barriers for nutrition and eating properly, we have this front of mind focus, this long-term focus. So we start focusing on, oh my god, this cookie sounds so delicious, it's not going to impact me that much. But realize we have a lot of, so focusing on the right things, or focusing on what you want, goal positivity, or focusing on the wrong things. What is the barrier inside of there? Another barrier you could be coming up with is that every time you're in social situations, your friends and family push you, or don't push you, but they have it in front of you, to eat bad things, or drink more alcohol, or do things that you don't want to be doing. So these are all different barriers that we can overcome. Let's go back to how can we fix the access point? Well, the access barrier could simply be, hey, we do some more shopping. Prepare ourselves in advance so our week is set up for success. Spending 1 hour at the grocery store every Sunday or Wednesday, it would be much more beneficial than freestyling it every week, because now freestyling is not giving you the result. Another action, instead of going to the grocery store, utilize something like Safeway online delivery, where now you don't have to go at all, and you can do it one time and then just repeat the order. That's what I do at home. So I don't order or go to Safeway anymore. I just click reorder and pretty much get the exact same things. Another way of access is limiting your access, right? If you have an overindulged amount of access to things, figure out ways that you can hide them from yourself. I have what's called a lockbox, which is a pretty cool trick. This thing is actually one of my favorites. I recommend it to all kinds of clients. It's called a kitchen safe, and it's just simply a clear storage bin with a locking top. So you can lock your items in it for multiple minutes, hours, or even days. So where, like, if you have Sour Patch Kids, so if I had a whole lot of Sour Patch out and I don't want to eat them for the next 3 days, I can turn my safe lock on for 72 hours and it won't unlock and allow me access for 72 hours. So that's a great area or access thing that you can utilize. It's very easy, simple, and affordable, that can stop you from doing a bad action, right? That also restricts your access, so you're going to have better results with. Let's go with tracking, right? Oh, I can't track because I don't know the numbers. Well, are you saying you don't know the numbers, so you're just not doing it? That's kind of lazy, right? So that's a barrier. Is the barrier of your ability to track the lack of knowledge? If so, how can you find out how to track easier? Go to Google. How can I track my macronutrients? There's millions of pages that will come up. Resourcefulness. The lack of results that you have is not from resource, it's lack of resourcefulness, right? So utilize your resourcefulness. We have access to everything, right? Maybe you haven't been tracking because you didn't know how to use the app. So instead of using the app, use a pen and paper. The barrier was technology. What's the least amount of technology you could utilize? Pen and paper. Write it down. Just a simple act of writing it down is going to be more beneficial than not, right? So that could be a barrier that's easy to overcome. Focus is reminding yourself of why you might need to be doing this, or why this goal is important, or why you initially started. When you're losing focus, you may fall off track easier. So ways of keeping yourself on focus, overcoming that barrier, is, in my case, I put something motivating that keeps me on track for my goals right on the backdrop of my phone. I also have a daily journal that I go through, so I track that stuff. I also remind myself of my goals periodically through the week. So keeping myself focused through utilizing other tools helps me overcome that barrier, right? And the last and final one is friends and family, right? This is very challenging because they're the most close to you, but family members, significant others, spouses, significant others, or kids, that's a little bit more challenging. But again, if you can put yourself in the position to control the shopping, then you got rid of the barrier of bad food choices. If you take over ownership of what is allowed in the house or what's being cooked on a daily basis, you take over the ownership of the nutrition and access, right? So you have gotten rid of that barrier. Maybe the other barrier that you have is every time you go out with your friends or family, they tend to want to drink or want to go do bad things. Start asking ways to go to other places, or figuring out solutions so you're not drinking with them. Maybe it's you drink Sprite instead of a soda, or instead of alcohol, right? Maybe you drink spritzer water that looks like a lime juice and tonic water and vodka, but it's just spritzer water. Maybe you just drink Diet Coke, right? Or maybe you control yourself a little bit differently in regards to how you drink or eat out. Or maybe if you know that your normal inclination is when you go out with friends and family, you eat whatever's in front of you. So a strategy to get rid of that barrier is that you start eating before going to events. This will minimize the amount of hunger you have while in the event, and then reduce the amount of snacking you may have, right? Or, another thing for me is, like, I am always, I have anxiousness while I'm out in public. So I'm always fidgeting. So something for me in this case is when I'm out with friends and family, I'm always drinking something or eating something. So what could you, instead of snacking on like the tortilla chip, snack on the broccoli, right? So you have a strategy to overcome the barrier of bad food choice, right? So what is the barrier that you're currently facing? That big rock that you're in, okay? So you have a couple couple ways of implementing these strategies. You have the big rock. Now you can go over it, right? If you go over it, that's just simply acknowledging it and then pole vaulting over it. Okay, that's not a problem anymore. I'm going to get rid of that problem altogether. Another way is around it, going around the problem. So now I say, hey, my friends and family was a rock that's going to be there. So I have to go around the problem, okay? Then I'm going to meet on the other side and achieve the goal. Pole vaulting is taking control of, right? Not letting it stop you. Things like access and tracking. And then going through it is completely evaporating it and putting a stick of dynamite inside of it and going with things like the focus and the track. You take full control of it, you take full ownership of it, and you get rid of the excuse and the barrier altogether by taking control. So that's it, guys. If you want to start seeing results or more improved results, realize that the barriers that you face are nothing more than Steven Spielberg movies in your head. They seem much worse than they truly are, but they're actually easy when you sit down and look. What is the barrier that's currently holding me back from achieving the outcome that I want? That's a simple question. Write it down and then write down all the things that are stopping you. So again, the question is just simply this. What is the barrier or barriers that are holding me back? Now, as you do this, I would actually do this on a piece of paper, right at the very top, like a headline. I would write, what is the barrier or barriers that are holding me back? And then down the page, I would write down all the things that I feel like are holding me back at that point in time. Once I've figured that out, then I can clearly go in and say, hey, this is not so much of a problem anymore, but what you cannot do is fix a problem that you are not truly aware of. If you're just saying it in your head, you're not fully find a solution. But if you write it down on pen and paper, you're going to fully see what the magnitude of that problem is. You're then going to be able to see exactly what the problem is and how to solve it. Once you're able to solve it, you can get rid of the barrier altogether and finally see the results you want, without being tied back to something holding you back or without feeling like you have something in your way that you can't see around. The truth is, you're probably just standing too close to your problem, much like if I was standing too close to a door that wouldn't open. If I can't see the handle, I can't turn the knob. So I need to step back a little bit to get clear perspective and framework of where I'm at and how to go around, over, or through these barriers. That's it, guys. Hopefully that was helpful, and hope you guys can implement this right away and start removing those barriers that are holding you back from achieving your goals.